that entrance at measure 17 one more time.
That was the one I was going to ask.
Have a seat. Another one small general note. Whenever we're doing a great job getting all the consonants out, but don't let them at all those spots. Just pay like wretchedness, will, and then what was it? Nor, avarice, blight, sorrow. A lot of consonants, but make them really short, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nor, avarice, blight, sorrow. Like that's great consonants, but too much. Nor, avarice, blight, sorrow. Just so we can get the words a little bit more understood. Let's go back to 17 one more time. Can you roll the pitches at 17? Here's 2 bars before 17. That was good. One more time. Same thing.
Stop watching the deer. Watch.
There's Karen.
Oh, Karen.
Any other last concerns, questions, things you want to hear? Feeling good about it? It sounded really great. I really, beautiful song there.
It is a beautiful song. Thank you.
We'll meet afterwards as usual as well. I'll have some new stuff for us.
Feel better about hearing it, like, you know, at the beginning.
We got about 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, you probably will. Yeah.
Okay. I have here that come up my window, like, really?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I know. But my cats don't carry. My cats are like,
We'll now sing our gathering song for the month of February, number 1023, Building Bridges. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. I reach out to you, such sweet harmony. With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We are grateful to gather on this beautiful morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. Whether you join us today with joy in your heart, weighted by burdens, or searching for meaningful connections, we are glad you are here. I'm Bridget Laflin, the Ministerial Intern here at the Unitarian Universalist Society. Our minister, Reverend Diana Smith, is on sabbatical. My pronouns are she, her. I am a short, fat, middle-aged woman with long brown hair and glasses, wearing a navy blue polka dot dress, standing in UUS's pulpit at the front of our sanctuary. Our sanctuary and adjoining commons are filled with people of all ages. Through the window walls of our sanctuary, we connect to the natural world around us, where it is a sunny winter day and it is starting to warm up. As we gather, we give thanks for this land and all who have cared for it over the centuries, particularly the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, the Meskwaki, and the Oceti-Shakawan nations. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, sizes, and health statuses, we know how important it is to come together and work together to create radically welcoming spiritual community. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith expresses our core value of love through how we agree to be together and support each other. We are guided by the shared principles, sources, and values of our living religious tradition. This morning, as we honor Black History Month, we will celebrate and explore our commitment to the values of justice and equity. If doing something with your hands during the worship service helps you, we invite you to visit the Soul Work table outside the sanctuary doors and pick up something to work with. If you're newer to our congregation, we invite you to learn more about us after the service. For those here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. And for those online, there is a link to a visitor form in YouTube Notes that will let us connect with you. Our call to worship today comes from Libby D. Stoddard. We have come into this room of hope, where our hearts and minds are opened to the future. We have come into this room of justice, where we set aside our fear to name freely every oppression. We have come into this room of love, where we know that no lives are insignificant. We have come into this room of song, where we unite our voices in the somber and the beautiful melodies of life.
Our opening hymn for this morning is number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Good morning. I'm Quanda Hood. My pronouns are she, her, and I identify as a human with dark brown hair, average height, and today I'm wearing my heated vest, a black shirt, and blue jeans. As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary, safety, and hope, to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words as Dara lights our chalice. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and the mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week we light a candle for justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of the targeting of our immigrant population, the dismantling of our democracy, and the dissolution of diversity, equity, and inclusion. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, or perhaps lift up prayers. And now we'll have our time for all ages with Leah.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. Can you hear me? My name is Leah Kaminsky. I am the RE coordinator here at the UU Church, and I will be reading today Something Happened in Our Town, a child's story about racial injustice, written by Marianne Solano, Marietta Collins, Ann Hazard, illustrated by Jennifer Zavoyne. And I invite anyone that would like to see the pictures a little bit up closer to come join me as I will be reading the story up here. Something happened in our town. Something bad happened in our town. The news was on the TV, the radio, and the internet. The grown-ups didn't think the kids knew about it, but the kids in Miss Garcia's class heard some older kids talking about it, and they had questions. After school, Emma asked her mother, "Why did the police shoot that man?" "It was a mistake," said her mother. "I feel sad for the man and his family." "Yes, the police thought he had a gun," said her father. "It wasn't a mistake," said her sister Liz. "The cops shot him because he was black." Emma was confused. "He is brown, not black," she said. "Some black people have dark brown skin, and some have light brown skin," Emma's father explained. "Black usually means African American. Most of their ancestors were brought here from Africa as slaves." "I know what a slave is," said Emma. "That's when you have to do whatever the other person says." Yes, slaves had to do whatever white people told them to do. Even after slavery ended, white people didn't let black people live where they wanted, go to school with white people, or vote. Who are white people? White people came here from places in Europe or Russia or other countries. We are white, even though our skin is light tan. "Did our family do these bad things a long time ago?" asked Emma. "Yes," answered her mother. "Back then, many white people thought that they were better than black people, even though it wasn't true." Liz added, "Some white people still think most black men and boys are dangerous, even though they're not." Was the man that got shot dangerous? Asked Emma. No, her mother said. Shooting him was a mistake. It was a mistake that is part of a pattern. Like the pattern on my blanket? Emma asked. Yes, but this pattern is being nice to white people and mean to black people. It's an unfair pattern. Suppose you had a birthday party and invited everyone in your class except the black kids, her mother said. How would the black kids feel? They would be sad, Emma said, or mad. And you would be missing out because you never know who is going to be your best friend, said Liz. And you can help others to be fair, said her mother. Like telling Anna to stop teasing Ling about her name? Asked Emma. Her mother gave her a hug. Yes, just like that. In another house, Josh asked his mother, "Can police go to jail?" "Yes," said his mother. "Why do you ask?" "That white policeman who shot the black man," said Josh. "Will he go to jail?" "What he did was wrong," said his mother. "But he won't go to jail," said his father. "Why not?" asked Josh. "Cops stick up for each other," said Josh's brother Malcolm, "and they don't like black men." Josh was confused. Why not? Some police are black. "You're right," said his mother. "Uncle James is a police officer, and so is my friend Kenya. There are many cops, black and white, who make good choices," said his father, "but we can't always count on them to do what's right." Malcolm added, "I could get stopped by the police just because I'm black, even if I don't do anything wrong." "That's not fair," Josh said. "What if it was a white man in the car? Would the police have shot him?" "They probably wouldn't have even stopped the car," said his father. "Sometimes white people are treated better than black people," said his mother, "but it's not right. Everybody should be treated fairly." Josh's mother gave him a hug. "We're proud of who you are. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela were strong and brave black leaders. They showed us that we can stand up for our rights and set good examples for others. They were treated unfairly, but helped others learn to be more fair." "Some people haven't learned yet," said his father angrily. "Why are you mad?" asked Josh. "I'm mad that we're still treated poorly sometimes, but I can use my anger to make things better," said his father. "Black people have a lot of power if we work together to make changes." "I have power," Josh said, "and I'm smart." His father smiled. "You're right." His mother added, "And you can change people's hearts by sticking up for someone who is not treated fairly. Like how Malcolm sticks up for me when the kids tease me about my glasses?" Josh asked. "He tells them to step off." "Just like that," his parents said. The next day, a new kid joined Emma and Josh's class. His name was Ahmad, and he was from a country far away. Ahmad didn't know where to sit or what to do because it was his first day in school. He talked a little bit, but it was hard to understand him. He said he was learning English. After lunch, the class went outside to play soccer. Daniel and Sophia picked kids to be on their teams. All of the kids were picked to be on the team except Ahmad. Daniel said Ahmad probably didn't know how to play because he was new. Sophia said Ahmad might not be good at soccer. Josh remembered what his mother said about sticking up for people who are treated unfairly. Emma remembered what her mother said about unfair patterns and birthday parties. All of a sudden, Ahmad wasn't alone. Emma and Josh were leading him to their team. "We have enough kids on our team," Daniel said. "We don't need him." But Josh was ready. "Step off," he said. "He's playing." "Yeah," said Emma. "We don't want to miss out." And just like that, Emma and Josh gained a new friend and started a better pattern in their school. I'll start over. Each week when they head to classes, our children light a lantern as a symbol of love and hope that goes with them as they explore our faith. Children, youth, and teachers, please come forward as Rory lights our lantern from our chalice.
Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open for possibilities. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to possibilities.
Nurturing gratitude and how we understand and express interdependence is part of how we live into our Unitarian Universalist faith. As we enter into a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, we acknowledge the joys and sorrows of our congregation. We do this by dropping stones into a bowl of water, symbolically immersing our personal joys and sorrows into the flow of all life's joys and sorrows. The water surrounds and holds the stone, just as we are surrounded and held by love and support of this congregation. For those who would like to share their joys and sorrows in conversation in a smaller venue, the Pastoral Care Associates will be leading a compassionate connection circle in the Walnut Room immediately after today's worship service. These circles, which happen on the second and fourth Sundays, are opportunities to share with and support each other in our lives' journey. If you're participating in the service elsewhere, you may wish to meditatively hold a stone, wash your hands, or meditate on an object near you. And now, if you're in the sanctuary and feel called to do so, please come forward, take a stone from the basket, and place your stone in the water as we sing together, "There is a Love."
Spirit of love, Spirit of life, as we gather together in this sacred time and space, open our hearts to love. Love that centers us in our lives and in our relationships. Open our minds to learning that we still have more growing to do, learning that we do not know it all. Open our spirits to compassion. Compassion for those we know, and compassion for those whose struggles we don't understand. Break us open to the understanding that we are a part of everyone and everything. Understanding that our action and inaction both have consequences. Understanding that we need one another more than we realize. Break us open. Amen, and blessed be.
George Floyd was killed by police on May 25th, 2020. Kimberly Latrice Jones released a video talking about the Black Lives Matter protest, inequality, and police brutality. Jones gives a powerful and eloquent speech that needs to be heard by everyone. She explains in detail why this is happening, racism across 450 years, and the difference between protesting, rioting, and looting in 2020. Her video picked up popularity after it was shown to close out the June 7th Last Week Tonight with John Oliver episode. On Saturday, May 30th, filmmaker and photographer David Jones of David Jones Media felt compelled to go out and serve the community in some way. He decided to use his art to try and explain the events that were currently impacting our lives. On day 2, Sunday the 31st, he activated his dear friend, author Kimberly Jones, to tag along and conduct interviews. During a moment of downtime, he captured these powerful words from her and felt the world couldn't wait for the full documentary. They needed to be heard now. I'm sharing this as one of the best examples I've ever heard about the explanation of systemic and institutionalized race, oppression, and racism. It's not to make anyone feel judged. We're talking about the past, but this speech brings us into the present. Sadly, a commentary on how things haven't changed in some regards. If you look beyond the racism, I think you'll see just how relevant these words are today. So I've been seeing a lot of things, talking, people making commentary. Interesting enough, the ones I've noticed that have been making the commentary are wealthy Black people, making the commentary about we should not be rioting, we should not be looting, we should not be tearing up our own communities. And then there's been an argument of the other side. We should be hitting them in the pocket. We should be focusing on the blackout days where we don't spend money. But I feel like we should do both, and I feel like I support both. And I'll tell you why I support both. I support both because when you have civil unrest like this, there are 3 types of people in the street. There are the protesters, the rioters, and there are the looters. The protesters are there because they actually care about what's happening in their community. They want to raise their voices, and they're strictly there to protest. You have the rioters who are angry, who are anarchists, who really just want to mess things up, and that's what they're going to do regardless. And then you have the looters. And the looters most exclusively are there to do just that, to loot. Now people are like, well, what do you gain by that? What did you get from looting? And I think as long as we're focusing on the what, we're not focusing on the why. And that's my issue with that. As long as we're focusing on what they're doing, we're not focusing on why they're doing it. Some people are like, well, those people who are legitimately angry about what's happened, those are people that just want to get stuff. Okay, well, then let's go with that. Let's say that's what it is. Let's ask ourselves why, in this country in 2020, the financial gap between poor blacks and the rest of the world is at such a distance that people feel like their only hope and opportunity to get some things that we flaunt and flash in front of them all the time is to walk through a broken glass window and get it. That they are so hopeless that getting that necklace, getting that TV, getting that change, getting that bed, getting that phone, whatever it is that they're going to get is in that moment when the riots happen. And if they have present of opportunity to loot, that's the opportunity they're going to take. We need to be questioning why. Why are people that poor? Why are people that broke? Why are people so food insecure, that clothing insecure, that they feel like their only shot, that they are shooting their shot by walking through a broken glass window to get what they need? And then people want to talk about, well, it's plenty of people who pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and got it on their own. Why can't they do that? Let me explain something to you about economics in America. And I'm so glad as a child that I got an opportunity to spend time with Push, where they taught me this. It's that we must never forget that economics was the reason that black people were brought to this country. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Do you understand that? That's what we came to do. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. If I decide right now to play Monopoly with you, and for 400 rounds of playing Monopoly, I didn't allow you to have any money. I didn't allow you to have anything on the board. I didn't allow for you to have anything, and then we played another 50 rounds of Monopoly, and everything that you gained and you earned while you were playing that round of Monopoly was taken from you. That was Tulsa. That was Rosewood. Those are places where we built black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property, and they burned it to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them. And then you have to turn it over to them. So when for 50 years you finally get a little bit, you're allowed to play, and every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, that you're catching up, or that what you're doing is something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then, finally, at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play, and they say, okay, now catch up. Now, at this point, the only way that you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you shared the wealth, there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire? So if I play 400 rounds of Monopoly with you, and I had to play and give you every dime I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like it, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa, like they did in Rosewood. How can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract we all have. That if you steal or I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and fixes the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. The social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the frick do I give a thought about burning down the freaking Football Hall of Fame or burning down the freaking Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and you didn't give a care. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game, we built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again and on our own by our bootstraps. In Tulsa, you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood, you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract. So forget your Target. Forget your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they can burn this place to the ground, and it still wouldn't be enough. And they were lucky that what black people are looking for is equality, not revenge.
How do I follow that? Well, it's Black History Month, so let's talk history. Pop quiz. Who knows when the Civil War ended? Yeah? Ooh, close. April 9th, 1865 marked the end of the American Civil War for that army. That was the surrender of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia at Appomattox. That is what the history books tell us. But history is written by the victors, right? And in this case, as in almost all cases in the history of the United States, the victors were white people. So we have written a story in which righteous white people fought and won a war to free black slaves, which, like all historical accounts, is a partial truth. Does anyone know what famous event happened 5 days after that surrender at Appomattox? The answer is the first presidential assassination. John Wilkes Booth shot President Abraham Lincoln. Booth was very angry about slaves being set free after the Civil War. At one point, 6 months before the assassination, Booth had written, "This country was formed for the white, not the black man. And looking upon African slavery from the same standpoint held by the noble framers of our Constitution, I, for one, have ever considered it one of the greatest blessings, both for themselves and us, that God has ever bestowed on a favored nation." Lincoln's assassination was the first example of how the Confederates, those people who believe that America is first and foremost a white nation, continued the war after they had surrendered. Mao Zedong said, "Politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics with bloodshed." When the Civil War ended, the Confederates seemed to take that to heart, and they smoothly made the switch from war to politics and continued the fight. Although, to be honest, there was still a lot of bloodshed. Since the Civil War, the United States has made great strides toward racial equity. But every step forward has been attacked and undermined by the white nationalists of that generation. When we passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which made it illegal to hold people in slavery except for as punishment of a crime, laws were passed to criminalize the actions of black people so that many black people became prisoners who worked as slaves. When the 15th Amendment was passed to allow black people the right to vote, poll taxes, literacy tests, understanding clauses, and more restricted the number of black people who could vote. And when that didn't work as well as expected, white terrorists publicly lynched, murdered thousands of black people in order to scare others away from the polls. And when it seemed like the 14th Amendment might be working in some small way to allow equal treatment under the law, and some black communities began to thrive, they were attacked and destroyed. The examples that were cited in the reflection Kwanda read were in 1921 the Black residential neighborhood of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was known as Black Wall Street. Thousands of armed white people looted and burned about 1,200 homes, at least 60 businesses, dozens of churches, a school, a hospital, and a public library. They killed an estimated 300 people. In 1923, a white posse burned the African-American town of Rosewood, Florida. They burned it to the ground and lynched residents there due to the false accusation of a white woman who claimed to have been beaten by an unnamed Black man. Over 30 Black people were killed. The town was destroyed and never reconstructed. In order to prevent Black people from amassing wealth and therefore power, economic laws were passed so that Black people were restricted from owning, or in some cases even renting, real estate. When the Federal Housing Administration was created in 1933 to help with the housing shortage, they introduced the practice of redlining, which would ensure home loans, which is refusing to insure home loans for the houses in primarily Black and brown neighborhoods, and refusing to insure loans for Black people wanting to live in white neighborhoods because of the belief that Black people would bring down the property values. The FHA also subsidized builders who constructed whole subdivisions with the requirement that none of the homes be sold to Black people. And this wasn't just in the South. One of the neighborhoods that I lived in, just outside of Seattle, didn't remove the discrimination clause from their homeowners association bylaws until they were forced to do so by a law passed in 2006. According to an NPR story in 2017, African American incomes on average are about 60% of average white incomes. But African American wealth is only about 5% of white wealth. Most middle-class families in this country gain their wealth from the equity they have in their homes. So this enormous difference between a 60% income ratio and a 5% wealth ratio is almost entirely attributable to the federal housing policy implemented through the 20th century. When the federal government passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, which banned segregation in public places, white people filled swimming pools with cement rather than share water with their Black neighbors. And they pulled their children out of public schools and created private white-only schools. Today, many schools are still segregated in practice, even if not officially. Now, all these attacks on Black and brown people are not by chance. They are not only the result of things done in the past. The Confederacy is alive and well today, and it is continuing the war for white supremacy. The same techniques are being used: legal gymnastics, intimidation, propaganda. The belief in white supremacy is fueled by a hatred, a sense of entitlement, and a sense of moral certainty that it is difficult for most of us to understand. As in the past, modern-day Confederates are driven to defend their beliefs and way of life, no matter what the cost. This is the strength of conviction that convinces people to oppose life-saving health care for themselves if it means that Black people might get those benefits too. This is the confidence that politicians feel when they know they will get reelected when they reduce SNAP benefits or low-income housing programs, because the propaganda says that those programs support Black welfare queens, when the truth is that more white people benefit from those programs than Black people. And modern-day Confederates understand that indoctrinating children while they are young is one of the most effective ways to continue their legacy. They're banning books, and the United Daughters of the Confederacy remain dedicated to instilling Confederate values in children and youth. For decades, the UDC organized successful campaigns to eliminate textbooks from public schools that were not sympathetic to the Confederate cause. They were also responsible for the erection of at least 450 monuments, markers, and buildings that commemorate the Confederate cause. And they created catechisms, which their children study, memorize, and recited to win prizes in clubs called Children of the Confederacy. Here's an example of what children are required to chant. Question: what causes led to the war between the states? How was this shown? Answer: the disregard of those in power for the rights of the southern states and by the passage of laws annulling the rights of the people in the South. Question: what were these rights? Answer: the right to regulate their own affairs, one of which was to hold slaves as property. Question: how were slaves treated by their owners? Answer: the slaves were treated in most cases with kindness and care. Many claims of cruelty and abuse were found to be the result of plantation overseers. Question: what was the feeling of the slaves toward their masters? Answer: the slaves, for the most part, were faithful and devoted, usually ready and willing to serve their masters. Now, in case you're thinking this is from a long time ago, this excerpt is from the 1999 version of the Catechism. And these catechisms are still being sold to members on the UDC website today. The UDC also offers college scholarships for students who are the direct descendants of eligible Confederates who served honorably in the Confederate Army, Navy, or civil service, or who gave material aid to the cause. The institutionalized racism in our nation is deep and far-reaching, and incredibly organized by people who are dedicated to this cause. Many of the politicians in our government are actively working to maintain the status quo by subjugating people of color, especially Black people, in order to maintain power. And their efforts are unceasing. They're zealots, and they have support. In 2023, the Southern Poverty Law Center reported 165 white nationalist hate groups in 49 of the 50 states, the most ever recorded. These racists are not a small fringe group. The only way to overcome these highly organized and passionate racists is with our own sustained commitment to defeating them. We cannot take a step forward toward progress and then take a break, or believe that our job is finished when we have a win. Because the modern day Confederates will do everything in their power to undo or subvert whatever progress we have made, just as they have done with every justice effort since Appomattox. We must be vigilant, uncompromising, and unceasing in our efforts for justice and equity if we ever want to bring about change. One value which grounds our Unitarian Universalist faith is the value of interdependence. So what affects some of us ultimately affects all of us. In just the past month, our federal government has ramped up attacks on the most vulnerable among us. Laws supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion are being dismantled before our eyes. Protections and support systems for people who have never been given a fair chance in our country are once again being stripped away. Hate crimes are increasing. The very fabric of our society is at risk, and our faith calls us to fight back. Many of us have the privilege of opting out of this fight. Our lives aren't directly impacted by the oppression and violence that is a daily reality for our neighbors of color. But if we truly believe in the values of our Unitarian Universalist faith, justice, equity, and interdependence, we cannot sit idly by. We must get out of our heads and into the world and support the efforts for justice and equity. There are so many people doing this work of social justice through political action, by helping individuals, by creating systems of support. Join them. I promise they will be happy to have you. No matter your skills or limitations, there is a place for you in this work. Your gifts are needed. Your presence is needed. Your consistency is needed. Your love and your compassion are needed. You are needed. And together, we will bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. So may it be.
How we give and what we do with our lives, our time, and our resources is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is Table to Table. I would like to invite Nikki, the executive director from Table to Table, to tell us a little bit about the work that they do.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Nikki Ross. My pronouns are she, her. I am the director of Table to Table. I identify as a white woman. I'm tall. I'm wearing a floral jacket because I am so happy spring is almost here, as we all should be. And speaking of which, before I get into what we do, I just have to give a huge acknowledgement to the more than 20 individuals who showed up for us last week and rescued food in such incredibly cold temperatures. We gave folks the option of showing up or delaying routes till the next day, and nearly every single person showed up to do their route, and we recovered more than 15,000 pounds of food in 2 days. So that's so important. Many of you, yeah, that's awesome. I would love to relay that our community really supports that. It's so important. I know many of you actually, some of you are volunteers with us. You've had me here not that long ago to also speak. Table to Table is a food recovery organization that bridges the gap between abundance and hunger. We increase food equity and reduce environmental harm by collecting and redistributing surplus food through our partners to people who can use it. Part of that work is a vision to create a more just and less wasteful food system where nutritious, desirable, and culturally meaningful food is available to everybody. I didn't know what the topic was going to be today, but I actually wrote a little bit about our work in relation to food justice and the idea that our food system has an inherent injustice built in because of the history of the things that were spoken about today. And food waste is a result of a lot of that. Table to Table works to capture food from all spokes of the food system, from production all the way to processing and delivery. Many folks who work in the food system are the folks who also utilize the food that we collect or are utilizing SNAP benefits, which are under attack right now. And that makes it, all the more challenging to do the work that we do. Recently, some of our greatest successes of food collection have been on the production and the supply chain sides. Just a few weeks ago, we got a call about a driver who had a semi-truckload of bananas, and we worked with our local food bank to distribute it here in Johnson County, 15,000 pounds of bananas that would have ended up in the landfill. And they were green. which I can say is not always true for the things that we collect. Sometimes things are close to their date. They have a couple weeks out. We ask for your support, not only through your monetary donations and listening to our words today about the work that we do, but hopefully also in taking action. Last I was here, I talked about the potatoes. So today we had bananas. Last time I was here, we talked about all the potatoes we collected. This summer, we were offered Gaylords. Those are those big boxes of watermelon that you see at the grocery store. Of watermelon, of sweet corn. We distributed that in produce stands across Johnson County in communities where people live and work and who might be facing food insecurity. Just this last week, we received a phone call from a local meat processor who said they had 3 pallets of pork for us. We showed up, and they loaded 9 pallets on. We called and we said, to speak of the kinds of things we think about in terms of culturally appropriate foods, it's awesome. We're going to take that product would end up in the landfill, and we certainly have folks who can use it, but there are a lot of people who don't utilize pork products or really, meat in general. And so in this particular case, we asked if they had anything else, and they added 2 pallets of chicken onto the load. And that same week, we collected some plant-based milk and some other plant-based proteins from United Natural Foods. So Table to Table is really working to collect food of all kinds, and it really increases the variety. You may all have heard that the state of Iowa has, legislators are promoting the legislation to restrict SNAP benefit use to WIC, a list of WIC products. Which is extremely restrictive and limits choice. And it's unfortunate that organizations like Table to Table and our partners like the Coralville Pantry and Community Food Bank and IC Compassion are the ones who are trying to provide choice and variety for folks. In the face of uncertainty and challenges bigger than one person can solve, we know we can continue to do what we know what we do every single day. Volunteers and staff are able, at Table to Table and partners across the Helping Network, will show up today and tomorrow to do this work again and again. I appreciate the opportunity to share these stories of food recovery and feeding our neighbors, of volunteers rescuing much needed food despite the cold, and of donors committed to our community and partners dedicated to providing safety, warmth, and comfort. We can use everything we have in our arsenal to sustain our hope and inspire helping actions right here in our community. We hope you'll join us in that work. Thank you.
Amazing work. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner agency and the Community Common Fund. You can follow the instructions on the screen to give online. If you are writing a check, please use the memo line to designate the purpose. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute towards your pledge or make a gift of support for our operating expenses. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all those who join with us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. May what has been shared today help us more fully affirm our interconnection and live into love and justice. Immediately after the service, we hope you will join us in the fellowship hall for conversation and community. If you're a newcomer, we hope that you'll grab a snack and then sit down at the table so folks can have a chance to get to know you. For those who would like to share their joys and sorrows in conversation in a smaller venue, the Pastoral Care Associates will be leading a Compassionate Connection Circle in the Walnut Room immediately following today's service. And now join us in singing hymn number 95, There is More Love Somewhere.
Somewhere
Our chalice extinguishing words come from Craig Rowland. As we As we extinguish this chalice flame, may the warmth of its light remain within us, guiding our steps and our hearts. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak the truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way.